What's up guys, Jean with Dirtbike Magazine. We are here at Mammoth Mountain and we're guests of KTM here for the launch of the all-new KTM 390 Enduro R and 390 Adventure R. So we're up here for a two-day launch. The very first day, today, we're going to be spending on the Enduro R, which is the bike underneath me here. This is the more dirt-going adventure bike of the group. Today on our ride, we did about 60 rough-ish miles and mostly off-road, almost all off-road. And so this bike, it is part of the adventure category, but it's a little bit more of a dual sport. So what's the difference between those? Kind of a rule of thumb that we go by: if it has a windshield, it's an adventure bike. If it doesn't, it's a dual sport. And this one, you could see it's largely the same chassis, but it does not have the tower, it doesn't have the fairing, the windscreen. So we're gonna maybe call this one a dual sport, and that's exactly what it feels like. This was not exactly a dirt bike that was made street legal. Obviously, KTM has those that you could choose from. So this is going to be still more road friendly and a little more, I'd say, entry-level friendly. It's got a lower seat height, it's a little bit wider, it's going to be more comfortable at highway speeds and just more comfortable all around. So you could spend all day on it and you're not necessarily going out there to attack, but you still are gonna get plenty sporty. So even though this is more of a mid-level, not quite as intense as the rest of the EXC line, it is still a KTM. So we still got plenty sendy today and had a blast out there. It was a lot of fun. So the 390 Enduro R, this is, I'm gonna say that it's a value model for KTM. There are areas that they held back, that this is not going to be all the top level stuff. If you want that, again, there's plenty to choose from in the KTM lineup. So this is gonna come in at a very modest 5,500 MSRP, and they did hold back in some areas. So you're not gonna have the top level suspension, but I do think that KTM, they obviously know their way around the dirt well enough to know where they can hold back on this and where this really becomes a value, but still gets around on the trails plenty good. So as a package, as a value package, this was really impressive. Loved the power, the suspension. I thought the fork did really well. The shock, we did find the bottom of it pretty quickly, so there's going to be a limit there, but there's also going to be solutions there coming from WP. If you wanted to, you could swap that out. Or if you just weren't going to go that hard, it was mainly in kind of more the high-speed whoops that we found the bottom of the shock pretty quickly. But the fork did really well, and I think what impressed me most about this bike, the chassis, just the overall, the geometry of it. Coming into this, my question was going to be, is it going to have that really just planted, stable, can't knock it down if you tried feeling that the 890 has? And that this one, it doesn't have that saddlebag tank design like the 890-901 platform, but it's still just a really stout chassis. We got into some loose stuff today. It was rocky, it was fast, there were some unexpected bumps. Never once did it feel unsettled. So I was really impressed with that. Never got head shaky, twitchy, nothing like that. I did get a couple of little unsettled moments, but that was more under hard braking. So can't really blame the chassis for that. That's a little bit more of a rider error. Another place that they held back a little bit on this bike, you're not going to find the same level of electronics and rider aids and onboard sensors and things like that that you're going to find on other KTMs, as well as the other 390 Adventure R. The Enduro R holds back a little bit in that category, but I think they sort of figured that this customer is not going to want all of that. Probably among the first thing you're going to do when you get out there, you're going to shut all that off. Why pay for it if you're just going to go out there and shut it off? It does still have two different modes. It has a street mode, an off-road mode. It has adjustable traction control and ABS. In the preset modes, they do still have a little bit of ABS and a little bit of traction control, even in the off-road mode. They worked with the North America R&D team a lot on that because they wanted to make sure that it was very well executed. Their goal was to make it so that someone who's an off-road enthusiast might even leave it on and appreciate the just the little bit of cut-in that it offers. So we got to play around a little bit with that today, and I will say I did go ahead and shut off the ABS altogether. Leaving the front on, it's not very intrusive. It's light enough so that it can be a help, but I don't know, it's still sometimes just a tough sell for people coming from the off-road world or the motocross world. The TC, it's still very gentle on there, but I was feeling it, especially when we were kind of coming up these gravelly, chattery canyons, and it just had a little bit of a pulse, and it was the TC trying to help out because it could feel that rear wheel chatter. Turning off the TC really seemed to help that one. It just felt to me, it felt like that mid to high range power came on much more smoothly. And if you're used to just being able to control that rear wheel with the throttle and not have anything trying to help you, it's really, really nice. It makes really nice power, I think, from mid to high. I could see the TC cut-in the off-road mode maybe being helpful if it was rainy, muddy, slimy, if there's a situation where you need help, because it was very light. It was tastefully done. I think well done to the team on that, but I still kind of anticipate that a lot of off-road crowd is just going to shut it off altogether. On the power side, I really think the power on this is going to be versatile enough to appeal to beginners as well as more experienced riders, because it's a little soft off the bottom. It's responsive enough. It's not doggy or laggy, but it's not real pipey either. It's not going to give it a zap. It takes a little bit to spool it up. So that's going to appeal to beginners because it's not going to give you any arm yanking when you're just setting out. So you can roll on the throttle and it'll be really gentle for you. But I do also think that more experienced riders are going to love that mid to high range, because once you get it spun up, it's kind of like a 125, or it's like riding a 250F dual sport. I know it's a 390, but it's just kind of has that characteristic on a motocross bike where you're going to be shifting more, you're going to be keeping your RPMs higher. Once you get the hang of that, it's a lot of fun. The gearing is pretty tall on this. I immediately you have that feeling you're on a smaller bike. As soon as you get on it, you want to just hop on and go first, second, third, and then start cruising. You have to shift maybe half as much as you would think. First gear is really tall. You have to really just let it spool up and then start working the gears. That took a little bit of getting used to this morning. It was bogging a little bit trying to get up those hills at first, just because I was grabbing too many gears. You got to just let it really stretch its legs in first and second, and it'll go. It'll chug its way up. So very well done on the power. We had a really great first day. That was such a blast. We even got to ride the Mammoth Mountain motocross track. That was a real treat. We have Mammoth Mountain motocross coming up next weekend, and so their parts of the track are prepped enough so that we got to go on there. That was a lot of fun, and again, reminds you how dirt friendly this bike is. You could jump it, you could kind of rail turns. It is not a motocross bike though. Let's keep that in perspective, because the passenger pegs were flopping out, and anyway, it was still a lot of fun to see the capabilities. Speaking of the capabilities off-road, the tires. They made a really good choice on the tires here. Traction, everything. I think that's part of that really planted feel that it has off-road and on the road. We were really sending it on the paved road coming back up here and really kind of cranked over, but it's so planted. It was such a blast. So I think this was all very tastefully put together. It's very thoughtfully put together. It's not how other brands might have a bike budget-minded in this category. It kind of turns into a parts bin bike. That is not the case here at all. I think this is very thoughtfully done and executed. Everything is new from the ground up. Chassis, motor, suspension, everything was thoughtfully dialed in, from the tires to the electronics. So really impressed with this so far. Looking forward to spending more time on it. And we're looking forward to spending more time on the Adventure R tomorrow.